No other country on earth can do anything like this. It's awesome. We parked an aircraft carrier, 20,000 troops off the coast for 6 months. We lit up their boats, lit up their territory. And then like lightning, we went in 2 hours. Air defenses turned off. Internet, literally the lights, the electrical grid turned off. 150 aircraft flying constantly from aircraft carriers to shut down all the radar, drown out all the sound. We go in, we catch him. We literally pulled him out of his bed in his pajamas like a fucking bitch. Do you know how oralist that is? How do you not love that as an American? Because, look, I get some of the arguments against this. You say this is American empire. People say this is unnecessary. This is warmongering, this, that, or the other. At the end of the day, this is a criminal regime. They're literally socialists. People are saying this is a Catholic country. Okay, nominally. But it's a socialist country. It's built on this people's revolution. It's a bunch of corrupt gangsters. The country literally runs on drug trafficking, kidnapping, selling what little oil they can even get out of the ground. It's literally run by brown, criminal, socialist gangsters. And this pissant guy is on TV, I'm talking about Maduro, is saying, come and get me, come and get me. Oh, you're a coward, you'll never do it. Knock, knock, United States of America, bitch. We come in literally in the middle of the night, take the covers off the bed, and we pull him and his wife out of the bed in the middle of the night in their pajamas. She's got a black eye. Just punch his wife for good measure. Like a fucking bitch. Load him up on the helicopter, deliver him to the emperor in a sack. Delivered to Guantanamo Bay and then the Imperial City in a fucking bag for the President of the United States. Kicked, falls out of the bag, looks up. Yeah, that's the president of the world, bro.
Let me just tell you something. When I was at Fox News, which was a long time, 14 years, I would have known exactly what to do in the wake of Trump's attack in Venezuela, his retrieval, shall we say, to put it in mild terms, of Nicolas Maduro. I would have known that I was supposed to cheerlead it. And I turned on Fox News yesterday, and I'm sorry, but it was like watching Russian propaganda. There was nothing skeptical. It was all rah-rah, cheerleading. Yes, let's go. And that's fine. I love our military as much as anyone, and I believe in President Trump. But there are serious reasons to just exercise a note of caution before we just get on the rah-rah train. All right, I have done that enough times in my career as a Fox News anchor to have been embarrassed enough to know I'm going to stay on the yellow light for this. I'm not in the green light territory. I'm not in the red light territory either, but I am staying in the yellow light territory for now. I see all of the strategic advantages of what he's done. Trust me, I do. I see that other countries like Russia and China and Cuba were all over Venezuela and its oil, posing a potential threat to the United States. I get that. That's actually the most persuasive argument and obviously the real one, and none of this bullshit about law enforcement. But I have seen what happens when you cheerlead unabashedly U.S. intervention in foreign countries, thinking it's for our good and for the international good, only to wind up with what we've called quagmire in places like Iraq, not to mention Libya. We're not great at going into these foreign countries, decapitating them at the leadership level, and then saying either we're going to steer the country to a better place or it's going to steer itself. Either one. They just, 9 times out of 10, they don't work out well. And what does it mean in terms of boots on the ground? Trump is saying, I'm actually fine with that in Venezuela. Well, whose boots? Because I have a 16-year-old boy. And I have a 12-year-old boy, and I have a 14-year-old girl. And a lot of my listeners have children, too, who are actually the ones who might have to fill the boots. So I think I speak for a lot of moms and dads, for that matter, when I say I'm staying in yellow territory until we know more. And I will not be joining the Fox News cheerleading brigade this time. I've been burned too many times.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. Would you say, Rich, though, that Trump's, I guess his political backing from his supporters is pretty, resilient. It's pretty stable, but it's been challenged in this first year, and even with the Venezuela strike, in new ways, I think, because, again, foreign policy seems to be the hot button topic, right? It's like we don't want to focus on it. We want to focus domestically. And then when we do, everybody's scared of the neocon intervention, foreign abstractions, rabbit holes that we've followed in years past. So where are we at right now? So Harry Enton says that actually the strike is more popular than we previously thought. What do you think?
It's historically, it's basically the most unpopular military action of its kind. Grenada had 82%, even 57% approved of the military action against Syria that Donald Trump took in his first administration in response to what we now almost assuredly know were false flag attacks, right? So historically, compared to other, including Iran last year, by the way, which was very evenly divided among the American
So where's
public.
this at according to your numbers, Rich?
It's not good. It's negative. It's not horribly negative, but it is negative. And the reason why, and this is where Republicans should snap out of this haze that they're in, just so people understand. My own personal views are very different from what I think how I think the public sees this or what they're telling us right now. My own personal views, if you can get a guy like that out of there, Andrew, with a limited strike like this, in a limited operation, intel-led operation, get him out of there and then bring the regime to heel, take the gold and the oil, go ahead, because we're $40 trillion in debt and you need to back the petrodollar. That's my view. That's Rich Barris's view. That's not the public's view. Unfortunately, they have PTSD over this, brother. You understand? They have PTSD over this, and the administration sold it like garbage. This was the easiest sell. Look, they stole our oil a few years ago. The Democrats were too, George Bush actually was the wiener here, but they were too weak to do anything about it. I'm taking it back because China and Iran can't have it. Period. End of story. And we're not going to nation build. That's what we're going to do. Don't give the public some garbage rehatch version of the failed war on drugs, which they laugh at and think is ridiculous.
I'm surprised that I support it because Charlie and I spent years railing against the military-industrial complex. We're going to have Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on next. We're going to talk about this. That I've devoted basically the majority of my adult political life to railing against the war machine. But this is different. This is the Monroe Doctrine, and the way you boiled it down, Rich,
Doctrine.
Donroe Doctrine.
Donroe.
The way you boiled it down, I thought was brilliant. We want our oil back. I'm not making excuses for it. Iran, China, Russia, you have no place in this hemisphere. Get the hell out. This is our backyard. We're not going to be suffering fools any longer. We're not going to be playing patty cake. Get out. This is our oil. We're going to take the revenues. We're enriching the homeland. We're securing our defenses. That's why I like it. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding how this plays out. But is there a chance, based on where you see the base at, where you see Trump voters at, that we can turn this into a win politically from a polling standpoint?
I do. I think there's a way to really give the American people a vision, because right now, Republicans, one of the main reasons they're losing, and we can get into some of the gripes that certain factions within the coalition have, but one of the, I would say the main reason that they lost in 25, and we go into 26 with them being the underdog here, is that they don't have a vision. They haven't given the American public an idea of what's the agenda for this year, what's the agenda for the country.
And if they continue down this path, they are going to be on the George W. Bush 2006 path. I mean, lose the House, lose the Senate, lose a bunch of governorships, lose some state legislatures, and then face impeachment after impeachment after impeachment after impeachment. for the next 2 years. Unless what Richard and I have been warning about is get off this foreign war. If you want to do this in a year, 2 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Do not do it right now because it's bleeding politically.
Because look at the damn numbers. Look at the data. It's horrible. And sitting there and tracking GDP is ridiculous. They don't give a shit about that.
That's the stock market?
I know the stock market.
There's like 10% of the people own almost all the stock market.
People are
half of America has nothing in the stock market.
Half of America who works in the private sector doesn't even have access to a working retirement plan. What are you talking about? It's ridiculous. And I've given them these stats before. I was like, don't you have an advisor who's smart enough to show you these numbers or smart enough to know where to look for them? You're touting a stock market. That's the Democratic voting base. What are you talking about? Most of the country doesn't have shit in the stock market. Oh my God. It's unbelievable. I don't understand. The markets are doing so well. Holy God. I just can't.
I mean, what they're on pace for people to understand, this may be worse than 2006, especially if they're all banking that the economy for real people is going to boom in 2026. When everything voters are reporting, and even if you look at the Fed's manufacturing index, you look at the non-manufacturing services index, you look at a wide range of economic inputs, and they are screaming. You look at the repo markets, you look at the overnight financial markets and what the Fed's having to do, injecting cash every other second, stories of this bank possibly going bust, that bank going bust. What happens if we get a deep recession in 2026?
Yeah.
Then you have full-blown shit show.
November of 2018, the economy was rocking.
Exactly.
I don't know where people get this idea that the economy will just fix everything. That's wrong. That's bullshit. It's total bullshit. First of all, even if it was true, you're still excluding the entire part of your coalition that was really about accountability, really about raising everything to the ground. It was really about, putting America first, right? They don't want to see anything. It doesn't matter if it's a quick in and out. They don't want to see it. They don't care. Like, everyone knows Netanyahu's a liar, dude. Nobody wanted to take, after it wasn't just those strikes. It's verifiable, guys. What I'm arguing is it's not up for debate. You can go to the public website for the White House schedule. Once those strikes happened, it was all Iran from almost an entire month. It was all Iran, all Middle East. There was not a single domestic thing on the president's agenda. It entangles you. That's how this town works.
Either got to take over the party at the grassroots or realize if the party's broken, start a new one. Whatever it is necessary to get the American people's interest and needs actually met or addressed, or at least them believing you're fighting for them. Not fighting for oligarchs, not fighting for big oil companies, not fighting for big donors, not fighting for foreign nations and foreign populations, but fighting for Americans in America on American issues. And that's what needs to come about if they're going to have they're going to mitigate what looks like an incoming bloodbath.
But what makes what happened in Venezuela, taking the head of state out of the presidential palace with Delta Force and bringing him to New York and putting him on trial, what makes that so very different from, say, I don't know, pick one, killing Mossadegh in 1953 in Iran or whatever, is that the U.S. government, the President of the United States, basically just said we're doing this because of the resources. Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserve in the world. It's in our hemisphere. It's going to China. And how about no? This is our hemisphere. It's going to go to us. He just said it out loud. And there's something kind of thrilling about that. There's something thrilling about the honesty there. There's no fakery. No, we're the U.S. We're not going to put up with that. This is our interest, and we're going to protect it. That's what the president said. And for the first time in a long time, there was pretty strong support from the right, from Trump voters, for foreign policy adventurism. Keep in mind, a lot of them voted for the president on the basis of his pledge to not start new wars. Well, here is effectively a new conflict, and they're supporting it. Why? Because the president justified it in terms of our national interest. This is good for us. We're not upholding international law. We're doing it because we want the oil. And again, there's something bracing and refreshing about someone finally telling the truth about why we're doing what we're doing. But there are pitfalls, potentially, and it's worth also considering those, because this is a new era. as has been noted, the United States has moved into the imperial phase of empire, leaving the republic, shifting to empire. And that's a pretty familiar life cycle for civilizations. And so we sort of roughly know what will happen. The first thing that's going to happen is that the energy and the power will vest in the executive and not the legislative branch. Congress will inevitably wither. It already is. They were not consulted before we took out the president of Venezuela. They had no role in this whatsoever. They have a constitutional authority here that was ignored, as it has been many times in the past.
This is a massive distraction from where his attentions should be, in my view, which, as you point out, are rightly Baltimore and other cities that are genuinely suffering. And I think if we roll into these midterms, he gave a big speech before the Republicans in Congress yesterday about we need to win the midterms. If we roll into these midterms and we have a year almost of Trump focusing on running Venezuela as the so-called affordability message is ubiquitous in the left-string press every day, it's not going to help. He's going to lose control of the House. I don't think the Republicans will lose the Senate, but we're going to have nonstop 2 years of investigations. And look, Trump hasn't been doing a great job of getting his agenda pushed through as legislation the first year. I don't think we have an accurate feel for what we've unleashed. And I think it was unnecessary.
I think you make a strong case. I've thought all of that. I don't think I articulated it quite as well as you just did. And of course, I'm totally opposed to empire too. I'm kind of for an agrarian society with no electricity. Small communities. I'm serious. I mean it.
But fentanyl was coming across the Mexico border, and that comes from Chinese chemical precursors. It wasn't Venezuela that we were ever talking about. Yeah. So I pushed back on the reason given is that we're taking down Maduro because he's killing Americans with drugs. Venezuela is not even in the top 10 when it comes to drugs being imported in the U.S. So you can't hold Maduro accountable and not hold Mexican cartels accountable, who are number one. So that doesn't work for me. Number two, we campaigned, and I went to countless Trump rallies and stood on the stage with the president and stood on the stage with other Republican candidates and said, America first, no more regime change, no more foreign wars, no more foreign intervention, enough of this. That's what America first means. And militarily invading a country, killing people in the process, arresting their leader and taking him out, and then claiming this is for the Venezuelan people and saying all the charges are about drugs, but then turning around and literally every single statement is about Venezuelan oil and how it belongs to America, which I don't quite understand that. I believe it belongs to Venezuela. It's not working. And that entire narrative is not working for most people who are saying, wait a minute, I thought MAGA was America first. I thought we voted to put the American people first. And that's where I stand. Yeah. And I think it's even a deeper issue is if it's okay to go into Venezuela and arrest Maduro, then why are we telling China you can't go and take Taiwan? Right. Why are we telling Russia you can't go take Ukraine? Who are we to tell any country
That's my question.
Anything?
That's my question. Why? Why are we allowing this? Has America forgotten who she is? I mean, we have all these branches of government, and no one's paying any attention to it. I would love to get your impression. And one of the things that I appreciated you saying, because it saved us from having to say it, is nobody seems to have any,
Yeah.
So what do you see? What is happening?
Why is Congress not doing anything?
Yeah.
Well, Congress isn't really doing much of anything.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate truth. That has been one of my major complaints as a member of Congress this past year is why is the House being sidelined? And that was a big complaint I had with Speaker Johnson. Why are you sidelining our legislation? Why are we sidelined? Why did we sit home for 8 weeks as the Senate was fighting over a government shutdown? Why was the House not working? And why is it that we are literally on record for having the lowest amount of legislation passed in, I don't know, decades? Yeah. It's embarrassing. But that is the question. Why is Congress not doing anything?
Party's in charge of all of that.
Yeah. Well, no, it's true. And that's why I'm critical I've been critical.
Another thing you've been very
But
critical
not
of.
many others are.
You and I have been as well here, been very vocal about wanting the Epstein files released and getting justice for the survivors.
Yes.
After you publicly promised to read the names of the alleged abusers on behalf of the survivors, you say Trump called you and furiously said, quote, "My friends will get hurt." What do you think he meant by that? And how do you know, or do you know what he was talking about?
Yeah, what was he talking about?
I don't know, but that statement bothered me deeply. I don't know who the friends are, and I can't understand why anyone would protect their friends or protect any people that were guilty of abusing, trafficking, raping these girls. There's like 1,200 of them.
Wow.
1,200. 1,200 women.
That you not
They're not women, they're kids.
Name people on the floor. Did he demand that you not do that?
No. So first, to be clear, the women have not given any of us the list of names.
Okay.
But we offered them that. We said, Thomas Massey, myself, and Rokana and others said, we will name the list of names on the House floor as a privilege that we have to be able to, we are protected. Our speech is protected on the House floor.
Is that why you think the president called you?
No, he was angry at me because I signed the discharge petition and refused to take my name off the discharge petition.
Did he ask that you take your name off the discharge petition?
Oh, yes. We were being demanded to take our name off the discharge petition.
Good. By the President of the United States?
Yes. And so, and the White House.
Well,
and it was completely wrong. And that is what led to him calling me a traitor.
Yeah. But you know what
After
I have to
voted
say?
with him for 98% of my votes.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
This is it. What is not unbelievable in my mind is this is a man who does not have a very good reputation with women. So I'm not surprised that he was trying to push.
I agree with you there. Not only does he not have a good reputation with women, I would argue the Republican Party has a woman problem as well.
Yes.
And you can ask us, we Republican women that have served in the House, we have been vocal about that.
Yeah.
There's quite a few others.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up, bitch!
She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married. And all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's going everywhere. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Pull the hell.
Hello, how are you? Hi.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the...
Well, that's what it's. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that, yeah.